How's it going, witches and warlocks and all in between? I'm the wizard of what? Sorry about that. I got caught up in my Jeff Goldblum impression. Anyway, speaking of which, this scene aged great. I've talked about in my Mission Impossible review about franchises that get worse and worse with every installment, and Jurassic Park is sadly one of those franchises. So I'm going to quickly speedrun my thoughts on all of the Jurassic Park sequels, because there's 6 of them, so I gotta get through this quickly. First one, a classic, everyone loves it. Second film, underrated, but not that good either. Third one, I kinda have a soft spot for, Jurassic World. Now this one's my second favorite. I do like the premise of it. Fallen Kingdom, sucks. What more can I say? Dominion, tries to be No Way Home, but ends up being Frozen Empire. And now finally we have Jurassic World Rebirth. And honestly, I think it's fine. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just standard. There's only like 1 or 2 things I can think of that's actually pretty good in this. Everything else is just kind of standard. The characters are standard, the story is standard. Honestly, Rebirth kind of has the same problem, 2 of the same problems that Karate Kid Legends has. 1, it treads too much old territory. How many times have you heard the plot of a group of scientists going to an island filled with dinosaurs trying to get some MacGuffin? In this case, DNA that can apparently save millions. And the other, they try to combine 2 plot lines into one, and they don't really go together. Like obviously one plot line's about the scientists going to the island to get the DNA, and the other plot line's about a family who crash lands onto the island and are trying to survive dinosaurs. Again, something we've seen a lot in these movies. I would have preferred it if they just stuck with the scientist plotline, because I don't know if anyone else feels this, but I'm kinda sick of there being kids in these Jurassic Park movies. I know the idea behind them is to give the story heart, but at the same time, a lot of them turn out to be really annoying. One of them starting the apocalypse. I will say though, no one in this movie feels like they're half-assing anything. It's just the actors aren't given that much to work with. And speaking of the actors, this movie's got some talent behind it. I mean, you got Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali, Jonathan Bailey. Yeah, you know him from Bridgerton, or as I know him best, Fiyero, Ticklar. Winky Country.
Oh, great Oz.
Which, ironically, Jeff Goldblum is also in that movie. I thought from the trailers he was going to be like that generic geek character who's like, oh, scared of everything, all the dinosaurs, ah! But no, he's pretty cool in this. Also, fun fact, he apparently played the clarinet in the soundtrack for the movie. It's kind of weird, but I like it. And as for the other actors in this, they're okay. Like Scarlett Johansson, obviously I know her best as playing Black Widow, but she has been good in a lot of other roles. And Mahershala Ali, I haven't seen him in a lot of movies, but I mainly know him best for Alita Battle Angel. Also, quick side note, underrated movie, I'd seriously recommend it. So yeah, like I said, no one in this is bad, no one's annoying, just, again, standard. But okay, I've talked about the bad stuff. What are the good things in this? Well, the dinosaurs. They got some pretty cool designs for the dinosaurs in this. Like there's one that looks like a Triceratops meerkat. There's a Stegosaurus that has like a really long tail, like a whip. And of course, as we've all seen from the advertising, the xenomorph looking dino. Or should I say, dinomorph. But I do kind of wish that they did more with this. Like the idea of mutant dinosaurs, I'm actually open to that idea. While they're in the lab, there's this dinosaur that has 2 heads. Like, I would have loved to have seen that. But maybe that would have gotten too far from what the Jurassic Park movies are about. But I don't know, it'd still be pretty cool to have a 2-headed dinosaur. And I will also say that the effects on the dinosaurs look amazing. They've got some great textures, and they look massive. Honestly, that's one of the biggest strengths of the film. The film looks massive. Like during scenes where they're like on the island and it's open, you really feel like it's open. Like when they're on the ropes climbing down the mountain, you really feel how big that chasm is. This movie also does have some pretty cool ideas with the dinosaurs. Like they talk about like the dinosaurs not fitting with the Earth's climate, because obviously 65 million years ago, the Earth's climate was very different from today's climate. Like the ones living up north or far south, they were all dying because of, like, they couldn't handle the cold.
The cold always bothered them anyway.
So then they moved to the equator because that's the best area to simulate Earth's climate 65 million years ago. Also, why were they doing this? But even if that was the case, couldn't they have just spent the movie in the equator? Like, don't just go to another island. Like, go to, like, Mexico, or, like, Spain, or, like, those other countries in the equator. Don't just spend it on another island. Though I do have one more complaint, and it's not really a problem with the movie, but more so the title. Why is it called Jurassic World? Like, when you think of Jurassic Park, you think of Ian Malcolm, Dr. Grant, Dr. Sadler, John Hammond. When you think of Jurassic World, you think of Claire and Owen and the Apocalypse Girl. But this is an entirely new story and characters. Like, they couldn't have come up with a different title? Like, maybe something like Jurassic Globe, or like Jurassic Country, or like, you know, something different, something that separates this movie from the others. Because this movie has, like, no Claire, no Owen, no Blue, nothing. So yeah, like I said, it's not the worst Jurassic Park movie, not by a long shot, but it is still very standard. So I'm gonna give this movie 6 out of 10. And so begins the ultimate summer of 2025. And now for the next movie, you all know which one it is. Oh, that was a mistake. Superman!
Garbage!
Who said that?
Me!
Oh, God, not you again.
Yeah, it's me, and I'm here to defend Zack Snyder's honor. Snyder for life! Snyder for life! Snyder for life!
You're probably wondering who the guy in the thumbnail is. The one with the poorly photoshopped red eyes. Well, let me give you a little background. With the exception of the first 2 Christopher Reeve films, rest in peace to the king, Superman has not gotten the best luck in terms of on-screen cinematic adaptations. Now, in terms of TV, I've heard he's got some pretty good stuff. 2 of them, Smallville and Superman and Lois, were actually filmed in my hometown. But in terms of movies, he's not gotten the best luck. And in my opinion, the biggest Superman actor to unfairly get the shaft is Henry Cavill. He's had 3 main DCEU appearances: Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Justice League. Since then, he's only been ever reduced down to cameo appearances. Hell, some of them headless. So when we saw him in the post-credit scene of Black Adam, officially announcing the return of Henry Cavill, guess what happened? A month or 2 later, DC was getting a full reboot, and they were going to do another reboot of Superman.
And got Cavill fired again!
Hence, where people like him come in. This is Harry Hayterson. I know, a little on the nose. Yeah, you've probably seen people like him on the internet. Those Snyder cultists who will not accept any other version of Superman other than Henry Cavill. Even if it was being made by the guy who made Guardians of the Galaxy, James Gunn. So now I gotta deal with people like him nagging in my ear about Snyder this, Snyder that. Just ignore him, let's just get into the review. Originally called Superman Legacy, Superman is the start to a brand new DC universe. Kind of. So I think it's safe to say that this movie has a lot on its shoulders. And since it was being made by the guy who made me cry for a raccoon for 3 movies, I had pretty high hopes for this movie. So, does it live up to my expectations? That is a big, fat, kaiju-sized yes!
Yeah, because you're a mindless consumer with no standards.
You haven't even heard my thoughts on the movie yet, and you're already judging me? Anyway, so the best word I can use to describe this movie is ambitious. Unlike Iron Man, where it starts off with only Iron Man and then builds more heroes from there, Superman is set right in the middle of this universe. So it already has characters like Green Lantern and Hawkgirl and other heroes like that. And a part of me does kind of like that. I mean, it's been proven before that you don't always need to tell the origin story of a hero. We already know how Batman's parents died. We already know that Uncle Ben said with great power comes great responsibility. We don't need to see all that again.
Yes, we do! It's vital that we see the origin of these heroes!
That is true, but here's the thing. We've already seen that in a ton of other adaptations, so we don't really need to see all that again. This is a movie where you can definitely tell is made by James Gunn. It has a lot of what I like to call James Gunnerisms. Like, you know how certain directors have certain tropes for their movies? Like Tim Burton has a lot of eerie, gothic aesthetics, or like M. Night Shyamalan has a lot of weird close-up shots, or Zack Snyder has a lot of colorless slow-mo.
What?
Like, this movie has a lot of like fisheye lenses. They're like shots that like can go super fast but then quickly turn around and it's like a close-up and then it keeps going zoom. Or like it does all sort of flips and whatnot. Like, for example, the hallway fight in Guardians 3. Or like another James Gunnerism, out-of-place humor. Yeah, here's the thing about the humor. The humor can be very hit or miss, but when it hits, it really hits. Like, seriously, I was busting a gut laughing at some of the jokes. But when they miss, they're not bad, they're just a little... okay. But I think one of the best things about this movie is the performances. Like, David Cornsweet, he knows Superman. He's got the voice, he's got the demeanor, he's got all of that. He does a good job in making Superman very relatable. He combines a lot of elements from the other Supermans to give one of the best performances of Superman. He does a lot of ass-kicking, but he also does a lot of saving. In fact, he actually saves a squirrel in this movie. A freaking squirrel! Fun fact, that squirrel would later go on to travel the multiverse and have adventures with Lois Lane. Rachel Brosnahan is a really good Lois Lane, and of course, Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. I really do like in this. Yeah, you know him from playing Beast in the X-Men prequels to the Voldemort Glazer from The Menu, but here's the thing about Lex Luthor. In my opinion, I'm not really a big fan of Lex Luthor in any Superman. Not exactly any interpretations, just as a character. I'm not really a big fan of him. I don't know, maybe I'm just not a big fan of bald villains in superhero movies. I think the closest I've ever gotten to liking Lex Luthor was in two interpretations. One was in the Arrowverse, where he was played by John Cryer, you know, Alan from 2.5 Men, and the other when he was played by Gene Hackman. Rest in peace to the king. I remember liking Gene Hackman in movies like The Poseidon Adventure, and in Superman the movie, he was pretty cool, it's just he had a lot of bumbling sidekicks. That was the one weakness of the original Superman movie. I really could have done without the bumbling sidekicks. Seriously, they're about as threatening as Team Rocket. And like I said, he is a really good Lex Luthor.
What? No, he's not. He sucks!
Oh, what? Would you rather have Jesse Eisenberg as Luthor? I also really like the other superheroes that James Gunn puts in this movie. Like Mr. Terrific, he steals the show in every scene. I really like this character. You have Nathan Fillion playing Guy Gardner, which is already a big upgrade from Ryan Reynolds. And then there's Hawkgirl, played by Isabella Merced. She gave a really good performance in Alien Romulus last year, and I haven't seen a lot of her filmography, like I haven't seen Last of Us, but I really do like her as Dora the Explorer. Oh yeah, speaking of which...
We'll be right back after these messages.
Hi, I'm Dora the Explorer, and if you like what you see, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to The Wizard of What.
And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss another episode.
Alright. And now, back to our show.
Really?
She was literally Dora the Explorer. The transition was right there. So if I did have some problems with the movie, I would probably say that, like, the film does feel a little too crowded.
Go on.
Like I said, there's a lot of other characters in this other than Superman, but here's the thing. This movie doesn't feel like it was made to set up a bunch of other sequels. Each character played a part in the story. There's even a character called Metamorpho in this. He's kind of like a Skrull in a way that he can actually shapeshift, although more into materials rather than people. And he plays a pretty good role in this, and there are some really great scenes with him. But the other problem I do have, and this is more so a personal gripe, I'm not a big fan that they reused the John Williams score. Like, obviously they put a new spin onto it and made it feel more like the Man of Steel theme, but here's the thing. I'm not a big fan that they just reuse the same music. It'd be like if they made The Amazing Spider-Man, but they reused the Raimi theme. Both themes are really iconic, but this is a new interpretation of the character, I want to hear some new music.
Good. Let the hate flow through you.
But again, that's a personal gripe. It did not take away from the movie whatsoever. But really, those are my main criticisms with the movie.
Wait, that's it? That's all the criticism you're gonna give to this movie?
Yeah, most of the things I have to say about the movie are positive.
Yeah, because they're getting paid by the studio.
You know, have you ever considered the fact that maybe I gave it a positive review because, I don't know, because I liked it? How I loved it! I'm itching. I'm itching to go outside again. Huh? Anyway, so yeah, I really like this movie. This is a comic book movie through and through. It's bright, colorful, the acting is great, and the CGI looks really good as well. And on that note, I'm giving this movie an 8.5 out of 10.
Bootlicker.
Shut up. And it looks like the next DCU movie coming up is going to be Supergirl. Another character who has not gotten the best of luck on the big screen, but pretty good luck on the small screen.
Wait, you don't like Zack Snyder's Justice League?
Yeah, I do. I really enjoy the Snyder Cut, but I'm open to a new colorful adaptation.
Then you're a traitor to the Snyderverse. No cryptocurrency, no Smosh haircuts, no Miss Maisel will ever compare to forced Jesus symbolism, neck-breaking, and iconic lines like, "Do you bleed?" This new movie's so bad, I never even watched it.
What? You haven't even seen the movie?
Why should I?
Oh, I don't know, to give your own opinion instead of hating everything because it's popular?
Oh, please. Every superhero released today is complete slop. Why would this be any different?
You know, don't you think you're giving a little too much hate towards superhero movies now? I mean, there are a lot of good things in there, even in some of the bad ones.
Oh, yeah? I challenge you to name 5, hell, even 1 superhero movie released today that doesn't deserve hate.
Oh, yeah? I'll do you one better. I'll name 10.
Wizard? Hello? Neverending Story sucks.
That's it. I am taking away your 4:3 aspect ratio. I can't beat Sabrina's Alakazam!
Ah, color! Where are my black bars? My precious black bars!
Look, I even conjured up myself a new shirt. What do you think? Anyway, with Superman come and gone and Fantastic Four on the horizon, we're in this kind of awkward in-between stage when waiting for the 2 flicks. It's kind of like November. Halloween just passed, and now we have to wait a little bit for Christmas. So this week I had 2 options. I could either A, watch the Smurfs movie with Rihanna,
No!
or B, because someone likes to be a hater, I could stay on the topic of superheroes, or more specifically, superhero fatigue. It's no secret that superhero movies have been getting a lot of hate in the past few years. I don't personally believe in superhero fatigue. I mean, stuff like Invincible, The Boys, the Spider-Verse movies, and X-Men 97 are all still getting a lot of praise to this day. Even with movies like Deadpool and Wolverine, and most recently Superman, prove that as long as you make a good, solid movie with a good script, people will show up to movie theaters. So today I want to do something a little different. I want to go over the top 10 superhero movies released in the 2020s that I feel get a little too much hate. But just to clarify, this is only from 2020 and onward, nothing pre-2019. So if someone will stop screaming... And I know for a fact that I'm gonna get hate for this, I want to give an all-encompassing hear me out. Okay? Okay. So with that out of the way, let's start off the list with... Number 10. Thor: Love and Thunder.
Oh, come on! You can't possibly think that jump fest is good!
I don't.
What?
Not at all. Despite me being one of the biggest defenders of Marvel Phase 4 and Phase 5, I will admit, Thor Love and Thunder is the one post-Endgame Marvel movie that I can confidently say is bad. That doesn't mean there isn't anything good in it. Like, Christian Bale gave a really good performance as the villain, and I really got sucked into Jane's story. I think it was really interesting. You know, when she's not doing her whole eat my hammer bullshit.
But the movie has terrible effects!
A. 1. Uno. Ooh. Singular. Eins. Yeah, whenever people talk about this movie's terrible CGI, they only ever refer to the floating head. And yes, that effect does look pretty bad. That is the only bad effect in the movie. You'll find that this is a pattern on a lot of the movies on this list. All the rest of the effects look pretty good, to be honest. But yes, despite all the good things I just mentioned, it really does not make up for the abundance of unfunny humor. That's why it's all the way on the bottom of the list. My ears are still bleeding from those screaming goats. Number 9. Joker Folie à Deux. Like Love and Thunder, this is the only movie on this list that I do actually agree is bad. But I think it's bad for a reason that other people say it's bad. I don't like it because it's boring. It's so boring. Most of the movie is spent in the prison, and the prison's not that interesting to look at.
Plus, it's a musical. No one wants to see a musical.
Yeah, it's not like a musical took over the world by storm a month later. I actually don't mind that it's a musical. I love musicals. What I don't like is that the songs in Joker 2 don't connect to what the characters are going through or what they're feeling. It also doesn't help that this is a jukebox musical, and I am not a big fan of jukebox musicals. Some of them I have a personal hatred for, but that is another story, and shall be told, hopefully never. But the reason why it's on this list is because I can see what they were trying to do with the story. The idea of Arthur being a victim of his own cause, and Harley being in love with the Joker, not Arthur Fleck, that is a really interesting idea. But I think it's just a matter of ideas versus execution. And unfortunately, it just wasn't executed well in this movie. But yeah, as someone who adores the first movie, like seriously, I think the first Joker is like top 5 comic book movies of all time for me. I was also disappointed with the sequel. But when everybody is calling it the worst piece of crap ever, even by some of the people who made the movie, I think they're exaggerating a little bit. Number 8. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Now I'll admit, when I first saw this movie, I was kind of riding that hype train of seeing Jonathan Majors as Kang the Conqueror in this movie, since, you know, he gave a really good performance in Loki. But now thinking back on it, I think the movie is meh. It's not good, but it's definitely not the worst MCU movie ever made. That title still belongs to Thor: The Dark World, I don't care what anyone says. But I still really like Kang in this movie.
Bro, Kang got defeated by ants!
No, he did not. And I am tired of everyone saying this. His technology got destroyed by a massive army of giant ants that were basically, compared to him, the size of elephants, which also had technology comparable to his. Besides, he was handling them fine before MODOK betrayed him, doing that whole don't be a dick bullshit. Yeah, that's also pretty dumb. And even after he got run over, he was still kicking Scott's ass and nearly got away before Hope came back. So no, he did not get defeated by ants.
Look at this meat rider trying to defend lazy writing.
I'm not defending lazy writing, I am pointing out what's right in front of you. If you'd paid attention, you would know this.
Harry! What?
Anyway, speaking of MODOK, like everyone says, he does look pretty awful in this. But much like Love and Thunder, only bad effect people point to. But I've said before in my Snow White review that I think it's more so the design than the actual CGI itself. I think it would be better if they gave him like a few scars or a few burns, like make him more deformed. But let's face it, MODOK's not exactly the easiest character to adapt from the comics. The closest we've ever come to a realistic MODOK was in the Avengers game, but even then he just looked like the 100th aimbot that you would fight in the game. And to be fair, I don't think MODOK was that bad in this movie. It's definitely an upgrade from his human counterpart. Now apparently they wanted this movie to feel like a big Avengers-level event movie to wrap up the Ant-Man trilogy. But there's just one problem with that. There's no Avengers! It's just 3 ant people and 2 musical actors. The main reason people like the Ant-Man films is that they're light popcorn flicks. They're meant to be movies that you watch after a big, heavy event to cleanse your palate, if you will. A part of me does kind of respect it going big for the last movie, but it's like vanilla ice cream trying to be tiramisu. You should just stick to your lane, guys. Number 7. Black Adam.
Oh, please. You're just saying that because you had a Black Adam poster on your set.
We'll neither confirm nor deny that. Now this one I can clearly understand why it gets hate. This is a very clear showcase of The Rock's boulder-sized ego.
Because the hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change.
That one didn't age quite so well.
It's got a bland villain, and it has a script that feels 2 decades old. But that's kind of why I like it. I grew up with movies like The Mummy or X-Men, and to see a lot of these tropes in these movies, it does feel really nostalgic. Look, here's the thing with The Rock's movies. For the most part, you don't watch them to get Oscar-worthy level writing, acting, or cinematography. You'll watch them to kick your feet up, stuff your face with popcorn, and just watch good-looking people do mindless action. And Black Adam is no exception to that. I realized that the other day when I watched Baywatch for the first time. So yeah, the movie does have their problems, but I still consider it a guilty pleasure of mine. But not as much of a guilty pleasure as... Number 6. Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Yeah, I love the Venom movies. The first one came out in 2018, remember, 2020 and onward, but I think people are being a little too harsh to Let There Be Carnage in particular. Not The Last Dance, I was kind of disappointed with that one. I think the main reason why is because of the way they handled Carnage, having him be in a romance with Screech, and them being like a Bonnie and Clyde type couple. Now, as someone who didn't read the comics and only watched the cartoons growing up...
Fake fan!
Shut up. I really enjoyed this version of Carnage. I think Carnage is a lot better in the 90s show, but the main reason why I like this version of Carnage is because of Woody Harrelson's performance. When he's creepy, he's really creepy. When he's in love, it really looks like he's in love. In a very sadistic kind of way. But I personally enjoyed this movie because of Eddie and Venom's dynamic. They have some really good chemistry, and I absolutely love that scene where they're in Eddie's house and they're fighting like an old married couple. When Venom breaks his nose and Eddie pulls on his tongue, and that whole fight scene, like, it was hysterical. So I know it's not technically that good, but I still love this movie.
Oh, what? You're gonna put It's Morbin Time now on the list, you corporate shell?
Nope. Rest assured, you guys, this is the only Sony Spider-Man-less universe movie that I am putting on this list. I already talked about the Venom movies, but the rest of them, Morbius, Kraven, and especially Madam Web, they can kiss my...
We'll be right back after these messages.
Hi! I'm Dora the Explorer! And if you like what you see, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the Wizard of What?
And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss another upload. Alright.
And now, back to our show.
Oh, come on! You just did it again!
Dude, I have a channel to run. I gotta tell people to...
Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Stop that!
It's a package deal, man. Take it or leave it. That's what I thought. Anyway, back to the list. Number 5. Eternals. Even before this whole Marvel hate trend thing started, people were still calling this one of the weaker MCU movies. Hell, it's the first MCU movie to ever get a Rotten Critics score on Rotten Tomatoes. And I can kind of see why. It is pretty boring, there's way too many characters you have to build up from scratch, and it's got another boring villain. Plus, another evil Superman. We don't have nearly enough of those. But at the same time, I kind of feel like it has some things that are worth the price of admission. The powers look unique and stylized. Akari's super speed scenes are some of the best super speed we've ever seen. Not as good as the Quicksilver scenes, but a close second. And some of its characters, like Kingo or Dane Whitman, are really charming. That and it gave us our first listen to Mahershala Ali as Blade. Now Marvel, if we could please get those characters back after Secret Wars, I'd greatly appreciate that. Just, food for thought. I still think the movie's pretty meh, but it's not a complete disaster like everyone says it is.
Number 4. The Marvels.
Oh boy, the world did this movie more dirty than the double-decker taco. This was the first Marvel movie to ever flop at the box office. Remember, these 3 movies don't count. They were released during a pandemic, a time where everything was flopping, so they don't count. Now, a part of me does kind of get why it gets hate. I mean, it has yet another bland villain, and it does feel a little choppy at times. But the best movie I can compare the Marvels to is Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's a movie where I could just turn my brain off, sit back, and enjoy.
Can't turn off something that doesn't even turn on.
Oh, what's that? You want me to destroy your Zack Snyder photo too?
Huh? I'm good.
Uh-huh, that's what I thought. But even outside of that, there are some things in this movie that are legit pretty good. The performances of the 3 main ladies and their dynamic are all really good, especially that of Iman Vellani. Yeah, you could say whatever you want about this movie, but you cannot deny that Iman Vellani absolutely nails this character. It also gives us one of, if not the best look we've ever had of Beast. Of course, practicality is always good, but sometimes you need to go the CGI route. But just make sure it's finished. So I guess the movie is pretty meh, but it's one of the higher mehs. Like, not meh, but meh. And hey, I'd rather watch this group of Charlie's Angels rather than, well, Charlie's Angels.
Number 3. The Flash.
Now before you guys come at me with your pitchforks and your torches and your lightsabers, let me just make one thing, actually a few things, perfectly clear. Yes, Ezra Miller is a terrible human being. Yes, most of the cameos and fan service were done more dirty than the double-decker taco.
You already made that joke.
I'm hungry, okay? Anyways, and the CGI is horrendous. Yeah, remember when I talked about how when people say that a certain movie CGI is terrible, yet they only refer to one scene? Well, here, it's not just one scene, it's like half the movie. So on that front, yes, it does deserve the hate that it gets, but I'm putting it on this list because of one reason. There's many, but there's one reason that stands above them all. It has a great emotional core. Despite all the fan service and multiversal shenanigans, at the end of the day, it's just about a guy who wants to bring his mom back. That scene at the end where he's putting the can of tomatoes back and he's having a conversation with his mom, that scene was amazing. The acting especially is incredible. Yeah, you can say whatever you want about Ezra Miller, but here at Wizard of What Studios, we like to separate the art from the artist. The artist can be absolutely terrible, but the art can be something really good. And The Flash was still my favorite part of the Snyder Cut. The idea of Barry becoming his own supervillain by trying to save Batman and Supergirl over and over and failing again and again, that is incredibly interesting. Michael Keaton, he does pretty good as Batman, but I really like the depiction of Supergirl in this. I love how unique it is compared to the other Supergirls. She's a lot more brooding, but it really looks like she's been through a lot. She's seen the worst of humanity. It is a shame we won't get to see her again, but I'm looking forward to Millie Alcock's version. But all those aspects are the reason why I think this movie's worth watching. Just please don't ask me about any Spy Kids level CGI.
That's it, Wizard. You've gone too far into mindless consumerism. Release the light! Never mind.
Number 2. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
I will admit, when I first saw this movie, I was a little underwhelmed because I let content creators like Soups and Straw Hat Goofy hype this movie up. It made me think this movie was going to be bigger than No Way Home. Now that's not supposed to be a jab against Soups and Straw Hat Goofy. I love those two. This was entirely my fault. So I guess that one of the big criticisms of the film is that Wanda goes through the same arc that she went through in WandaVision. And yes, while the two arcs are very similar, maybe even a little too similar, I never saw them as exactly the same. In WandaVision, she learns that it's not right to make people suffer to bring back loved ones. She has to grieve like everyone else. But as we saw in the finale, we saw that Wanda was being corrupted by the Darkhold. So in Multiverse of Madness, the reason she's doing all that again is because the Darkhold's corrupting her. It's not until she actually gets to her kids and they're afraid of her that she breaks out of the Darkhold's influence and collapses the castle thingy on top of her. Plus, Elizabeth Olsen gave my favorite performance as the Scarlet Witch in the MCU. In the movie, that is. But the main reason that it's in second place is because it's just too damn cool. The setting is cool. The new universes that they explore are really cool. Plus, the fighting is cool. The fight scene with the two strangers fighting with literal music notes? That was just plain awesome. Plus, say whatever you want about Mr. Fantastic giving away Black Bolt's powers, but that led to this awesome death scene. Worth it.
But what about the awful CGI?
Oh, you mean the third eye and that's it? Yeah, that third eye looks terrible, but once again, that is the only bad effect in that movie. The rest of the effects were, well, there's no other word to describe it, but cool. I'm a huge Multiverse of Madness defender, and nothing will ever sway me from it. Now before we get to the number 1 spot, I do want to go over a few honorable mentions. Black Widow. Movie's pretty meh, but Yelena steals the show, and continues to steal the show in Thunderbolts. Or should I say, the New Avengers. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Pretty much if Thor the Dark World was done better. Just don't ask me about any blood-sucking mermaids.
My dog stepped on a bee.
Birds of Prey. Has a cool style, Ewan McGregor's a cool villain, and it got me craving egg sandwiches.
And the number 1 most overhated 2020 superhero movie is Spider-Man No Way Home.
This continues to baffle me. When the movie first came out, everyone loved it. They understood that it wasn't just an excuse for fan service. All of the old characters, except for Lizard, each played a part in the story. To bring Peter Parker's character arc full circle, to remind him that with great power comes great responsibility. It left him in a place where he was literally all alone. No one remembers who he is. He made that sacrifice because of what he learned throughout the movie. It's emotional, it's deep, has great performances and action. It's an almost perfect movie. But then everyone decided that hating Marvel was cool now and switched up on this movie faster than Elon Musk. Now people are saying that it's just soulless fan service with no substance, that it ages like milk. Kinda like my shirt. And I seriously have no idea what people are talking about. Maybe they felt like it was crowded because of all the villains, but here's the thing. Unlike something like The Amazing Spider-Man 2, where they had to build up each villain from scratch, Electro, Green Goblin, and Rhino, in No Way Home, each of the villains had their own separate movie. So you don't need to spend a ton of time establishing them because they had a movie to establish who they are. Which, fun fact, makes No Way Home technically a direct sequel to every Spider-Man movie except for Homecoming. Maybe it has something to do with the effects, and yeah, they can look wonky at times, but because of pandemic restrictions, they had to film a lot of them on sound stages, not on location. But that is going to change for Brand New Day, though. So maybe that's why, but even if that was the case, I am more than willing to overlook it because of all the great things there are. It's my second favorite MCU movie. My favorite's still Infinity War, yeah. Nothing has ever beat that so far. And the amount of forced hate that this movie gets is just, it's absurd. It's just plain absurd. I mean, the Spider-Verse movies have a ton of fan service. Are they nothing but a bunch of cash grabs? No, of course not. So why should this movie be treated any differently? That's why this movie is number one for me. Because this movie is so much more than its nostalgia, and I am tired of everyone saying that it is. It's a perfect blend between fan service and emotional storytelling that makes for one of, if not the best, live-action Spider-Man movies.
Well, you're wrong! Wrong on every level! There is nothing good about any modern superhero movie!
That's it. Bippities, boppities,
No! No! You did all that just to change your wardrobe?
yeah man, Fantastic Four's around the corner, and I'm ready to go watch it. Flame on.
That effect looks so fake!
Woo! How's it going, witches and warlocks and all in between? I'm the Wizard of What, and... oh yeah, right, my house is on fire. One sec. There we go, all better. So I just saw the new Fantastic Four movie, and before I give my thoughts on it, which, if you couldn't tell, are very positive, I want to go through what my knowledge is of the Fantastic Four and what the public reception is of the previous adaptations. The Fantastic Four movies are, ironically enough, like Superman, where they've not gotten the best luck in terms of big screen releases. I'll admit, I do kind of have a soft spot for the 2005 version and Rise of the Silver Surfer, but Fant 4 Stick? More like, Fant 4 sucks! And as for cartoons, I grew up watching the show World's Greatest Heroes, and I remember also seeing the Fantastic Four episode of Earth's Mightiest Heroes, so I do have some knowledge of the Fantastic Four outside of big screen appearances. So now we have the Fantastic Four First Steps, and there's only one thing I have to say about this movie. It was amazing. Hey, you thought I was going to make that Fant 4 Stick joke? Well, I'm smarter than that. I'm not going to say something prohibitive like, it's fantastic. Shit. Say that again? It's fantastic. Guys, I got it. Ready? No, but I'm ready to stop wasting everybody's time and start talking about this fantastic movie. God damn it! Say enough of that. So this movie, again, much like Superman, skips the origin story and puts them straight into the action. And fittingly enough, they've been the Fantastic Four for, well, 4 years. So that means they've already fought villains like the Puppeteer, or Red Ghost, or the Wizard. Was just letting you know, I did not go down that easily. I would have been kidding, they kicked my ass. And even Mole Man, played by Paul Walter Hauser. You know, Stingray from Cobra Kai. And you know, if I had a nickel for every project that he was in where he was fighting a villain that had silver in the title, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right? And right off the bat, the best thing about this movie is the family dynamic. Not only do they have great chemistry with each other, especially Reed and Sue, but they work really well as a team. There are certain fight scenes in the movie where they're actually combining their powers, not like this, but in a creative way. For example, Sue uses her force field powers to create a magnifying glass, and Johnny blasts it through, creating this superheated, fire. I guess you could say it gave it more of a spicy kick. That was a punch, but whatever. Speaking of which, let's talk about the characters. Mr. Fantastic isn't played by John Krasinski this time. He's played by Pedro Pascal, who you may know from The Mandalorian, The Last of Us, Gladiator 2, and that one meme from that underrated movie. And when I first heard about the casting of Pedro Pascal for this movie, I thought to myself, well, to quote another Pedro Pascal character, this is good, but it can be better. But he was one of, if not the best parts of the movie. He's very smart, but you can tell that he's not really good around people. And that's where Sue comes in. She's played by Vanessa Kirby, who you may know from projects like The Crown, or Hobbs and Shaw, or the Mission Impossible movies. She's pretty much the heart of the team, and she plays the character really well. I really like the way they show her powers, the way that light almost refracts from the powers, showing off this cool, vibrant, rainbowish sort of thing. Sir Isaac Newton would approve. It's really good in separating it from other invisibility powers. And like I said, she has really good chemistry with the group, and even her little brother Johnny, who's played by Joseph Quinn, who's also in Stranger Things or A Quiet Place Day 1 and, funny enough, also Gladiator 2. And Johnny, for me, was the MVP of the movie. Yeah, I know Reed and Sue have more development in the movie, but he was really interesting in this movie. I'll admit, I do kind of miss that ladies' man vibe that Chris Evans had, but I understand why they changed that. Instead, they give him more of a connection with the Silver Surfer, who's played by Julia Gardner. And we'll get to that pair of scissors in a bit, but right now I want to talk about Rocks, specifically the one played by Ebon Moss. Ebon Moss? I'm still not sure how to say it, but either way. He was in, funny enough, another MCU project, The Punisher. He was also in The Bear, clearly, and he was also John Adams. I know him. No, we're not summoning that fandom. Even though I'm a part of that fandom, we're not summoning him. And I'll admit, I do like The Thing more in the 2005 one, because in the 2005 one, we got to see more of how being a rock affects his personal life. But Ebon still plays him really well. Also, side note, this lady's a douche. I mean, Ben saves a bunch of people, and what does she do? She leaves the ring on the floor. Like, honestly, there are a couple aspects in the 2005 one I enjoy more, but you know what's done infinitely better in this movie than it was in the 2000s movies? Galactus. Yeah, no more fart clouds. We got an intimidating-ass performance by Ralph Ineson. Not only does he have the perfect voice for Galactus, but he also has some really great CGI on him. Not quite as good as the Celestials from Eternals, but a close second. Still mad I couldn't get my hands on that popcorn bucket. Now let's go back to Silver Surfer, and thank God Harry's not here anymore, because I swear to Arceus, if I see one more person hating that they gender-swapped Silver Surfer, or like erases history, I'm just gonna go nuts. You wanna get nuts? Let's get nuts! First of all, it's not even a gender swap, it's a character swap. Instead of Norm Rad, it's Shala Ball. I mean, it's no different from Green Lantern being Hal Jordan or Jon Stewart. At the end of the day, it's Green Lantern. And I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I'm kind of glad it's not Norman Rad, because Julie Gardner gave a really great performance as Shala Ball. She says every line in a very cold demeanor, and I just couldn't get enough of it. The only thing I was kind of worried about is that this movie would be a copy of Rise of the Silver Surfer. But here's the thing. It's kind of like The Batman being similar to Batman Returns and Batman Forever. They have similar elements, but they throw in a lot of unique twists to make it feel fresh. For The Batman, it was a dark, brooding aesthetic, and First Steps has a lot of futuristic 60s retro universe. See, the great thing about First Steps being in a separate universe from the main MCU timeline is two things. One, so that it's not restricted by MCU continuity. So we can go big and crazy, and there is that big possibility that Galactus will destroy the Earth, because we know that the Earth isn't going to be destroyed, at least not until a big event like Doomsday, but with it being a separate universe, there is that real possibility. And the second reason, it can be a standalone movie, which I felt was great. It's a movie where you don't have to know anything about the MCU or the Fantastic Four, you can just go in as a new fan and still enjoy it. I will say though, the effects can be pretty hit or miss. When they hit, they look incredible. When they miss, it can be pretty distracting. Especially on the baby, which is weird because Vanessa Kirby said in a Variety interview that they used a real baby throughout the entire movie. Then why the hell does it look like the Twilight baby half the time? But hey, as long as you keep Diddy the werewolf out of here, we should be okay. But regardless of that, this is still easily the best Fantastic Four movie we've ever got. And I am so glad that not only is Marvel's first family back on the big screen, but it's within the MCU. Well, MCU adjacent, but still MCU. So I'm giving this movie an 8.5 out of 10. Also, stick around for the mid-credit scene. Your minds are going to be blown. Question of the day. Of the 3 summer blockbusters, which one is your favorite? Jurassic World Rebirth, Superman, or Fantastic Four First Steps? Definitely not Jurassic World for me. But I think I have to give the edge slightly to Fantastic Four. Main reason being is the music. don't get me wrong, the Superman theme in, well, Superman was really good, but again, I wasn't a big fan that they reused the John Williams score. Fantastic Four has an original score, and it's really good in its own right. But that's what gives it the edge. Both are still peak though. But let me know your favorite, and thank you for sticking around throughout this entire saga. I'm the Wizard of What, and until next time, stay strong, my dudes. Come on, what's for dinner?
How about some tacos?
Yes, please! Woo-hoo!